Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'll be diving deep into the 4 techniques that transform an everyday ballpoint pen into a tool to create stunning, realistic drawings, providing smooth lines and great works of art. And whether you're a beginner looking to explore ballpoint pen art, or an experienced artist wanting to refine your actual skills, this video has something for you. The 4 techniques are as follows: hatching, cross-hatching, stippling, and the most underrated one in my opinion, scribbling. Before we start, I do want to add that I also use grip tape on my pen to provide cushioning. I find that it gives me better control and reduces strain on my hand after long-lasting sessions. My aim in this video is to draw a skull in my portfolio book in a way that combines all 4 techniques into one. Let's start off with technique 1, hatching. It's one of the simplest yet most effective techniques in ballpoint pen art. It involves drawing parallel lines to create tone and texture. The key here is consistency, keeping your lines straight and evenly spaced, and also uniform in length where possible. I do want to add that pressure is very important in this step. By adjusting the pressure of your pen, you can control how light or dark each stroke appears. Start with a light touch for faint shading, and press harder as you build up layers for a richer tone. In this whole video, I'm going to stress that patience is your best friend. Don't try to make it dark in one go, instead build your tones gradually with multiple layers. This prevents unwanted streaks and gives a smoother finish at the end. Also, direction. When it comes to the direction of your lines, it can suggest form and texture. For example, curved hatching lines can emphasize a rounded shape, while straight lines can make a flat surface pop. The beauty of hatching lies in its simplicity, but mastering it requires practice. Moving on to technique 2, cross-hatching. Now, cross-hatching actually just takes hatching to the next level by layering lines that intersect at various angles as shown. This technique gives you more control over depth and texture, allowing for richer, more dimensional shading. A great artist once told me, you have to start your lines with intention. Intention is very important in this step. Start with a base layer of hatching, then cross over it with another layer at a different angle, perhaps 45 to 90 or anywhere in between. The more layers you add, the darker and more complex the tone becomes. And also, because the spacing between the lines are being covered, the smoother your drawing becomes. Cross-hatching isn't just for shading. By varying the angle and density of your lines, you can create textures like wood grain, fabric, or even skin tones. If you're interested in a strictly skin tone video, let me know in the comments. I recommend you start with widely spaced lines in lighter areas and gradually add tighter, more frequent layers as you move into the shadows. Now, cross-hatching may seem difficult at first, but that is purely because of your depth control and how much pressure you're putting onto the pen. But with practice, and I know it's cliche to say, but it definitely gets better over time. Let's move on to the 3rd technique, stippling. Stippling is a technique that focuses on shading with tiny, precise dots. This technique requires a lot of patience because it's going to be very time consuming filling up a space. The results can be stunning, especially for adding subtle gradients or unique textures. When it comes to building tones, the key to stippling is density. To create darker areas, increase the number of dots in one spot. For lighter areas, spread the dots further apart. It's the same as cross-hatching, but this time it's dots rather than lines. I recommend you hold the pen very lightly and use small controlled motions to place each dot precisely. Avoid dragging the pen because it's all about tapping it gently against the surface to create a texture. It is ideal for delicate details like the texture of the skin, fine gradients, or even areas where a softer touch is needed, maybe the pupil of an eye. It's also fantastic for creating interesting highlights by leaving areas untouched. Now, although I mentioned it is time consuming, you can adjust your approach depending on your goals. For example, you could go for tight, dense dots for intricate works and quicker dots for a rougher effect. And the same with hatching and cross-hatching, where you build on each layer. Stippling also has the same effect. Each dot builds on the last, creating a tactile, almost velvet-like texture that no other technique can replicate. Moving on to the final technique in this video, scribbling. As I mentioned in the intro of this video, scribbling is very underrated and even often overlooked as a technique, but is an incredible way to add energy, texture, and a sense of movement to your art. The trick is to control the chaos, intentional randomness that works with your piece. While scribbling might seem carefree, it's essential to control the density and direction of your lines to avoid overpowering the drawing. Use lighter, looser scribbles in areas that need soft texture and denser ones for darker shadows. I find scribbling to be perfect for chaotic elements like hair or worn surfaces. Its unpredictable nature makes it ideal for adding a raw detail. Like hatching, scribbling works well in layers. Start with lighter, more open strokes, then gradually build density in darker areas. And do not be afraid to overlap. This is where the texture really comes to life. Scribbling is a technique where you have to trust the process. It may feel unrefined at first, but when done intentionally, it's a powerful technique for adding dynamic texture and atmosphere to your work. When you combine these techniques, use hatching for structure, cross-hatching for dimension, stippling for those subtle gradients, and scribbling for texture. Together, they form the foundation of ballpoint pen art, allowing you to create everything from smooth realism to expressive textured pieces. Mastering these 4 techniques, hatching, cross-hatching, stippling, and scribbling, unlocks the true potential of ballpoint pen art. Practice each one and also experiment with combining some of them, and soon you'll be creating art that speaks volumes. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your ballpoint pen masterpieces in the comments. See you in the next video.